if there is one thing that you do need to make sure that you implement in order to reach success and growth faster with your creative business is...
Things were going so well, I had a good system, things were nice and consistent, and everything was going up. And then I was just like, I want to try something new. And it just plummets.
Wait, what?
There are 6 different communication models, and we all have all of them within us. Coca-Cola, L'Oreal, all of these companies use it in their marketing. So what I like to say to people is,
I have seen so many people completely derail and fail to achieve their mission and what they want because they got the wrong partner. It can be a fucking hell. Welcome to The Creative Grit, the podcast for creative entrepreneurs who are hungry to have more impact, make more money, and become successful in every area of life. I'm your host, Nelson, and your journey to mastering life and business begins in 3, 2, 1. We're extremely fortunate that we have another legendary video business owner because we just came from a mastermind over the weekend, and I was like, guys, they flew in from Melbourne. I was like, guys, would you be keen to come and record a podcast before you fly in? They're literally leaving in a couple hours, and they were super enthusiastic, and they just were like, fucking hell, let's make it happen. So guys, you're in for another treat on this episode. Today, we have the honor to have a voiceover artist and the CEO and founder of Do Good Studio, a full-service content agency for coaches, experts, and course creators. Please welcome the incredible, the beast, the savage, Ross Dwyer. Welcome, bro.
thanks, man. Thanks very much for having me. This is that was something.
Before we get started, Ross, I have something to ask here for people to understand one of your best skills and one of my favorite things about you. Mm-hmm. So could you please read this?
Welcome to The Creative Grit, the space for creative entrepreneurs to become savages and get all the tools they need to achieve success in business and life.
Oh, that makes me so happy to hear that. Ross, welcome to The Creative Grit, dude. First, let's dive deep into why did you even get into filmmaking?
When I was a kid, my uncle was an actor. And I loved movies. I loved watching TV. I grew up watching TV and movies. And I think I was probably like 12 years old, and I watched a movie called The Usual Suspects. I think I fell asleep like the first 2 times that I watched it, and always woke up just before the end and was still blown away every time. I think it was like a few years before I actually managed to sit through the whole film without falling asleep. But there was still something about it that, like that moment of like catching people's, I guess, like subverting expectations, taking people on a journey and then catching them in that way. I was like, that's sick. I want to do that. And I wanted to be a film director. And then went on like a whole different journey in and around that. At school, I asked one of my teachers if I could assistant direct a school play, and they were like, "No, you got to be an actor, and you will learn more about directing and storytelling than you ever will from going and getting coffees and taking notes and doing stuff like that." They were like, "Do the storytelling side of things, and then you'll get it." So I did, and I like lent hard into acting at school, and then went into audition for drama school when I was 18 or 17 in London. Didn't get into any of the drama schools, but the one I really wanted to get to, I got to the last round of the auditions, and yeah, the teacher was like, "Go get some life experience and come back in a year's time." So I was like, sweet. I worked in London for like 6 months and was like, I gotta do something. I've got to go get some life experience. That's what she said to go and do. So I was like, I'll travel to Australia for 3 months. Had this whole grand plan to land in Australia and like experience the outback, go up the East Coast, see all of these places. I landed in Sydney, did a week there, and I was like, this is amazing. I remember being at like 4:30 in the morning, so I had jet lag, like waking up, walking down to the beach. People were playing rugby on the beach, going for runs. Everyone was beautiful. I was like, what the fuck is this place?
The land of the best.
And I was like, wow, this is next level. And I'd been to Melbourne quite a few times before, So when I got to Melbourne, I was like, I'm going to be here for like a week and a half. And it's been 12 years now. And I still haven't left.
It was meant to be just a couple months, but now it turned into
Yeah.
many, many years.
Yeah. So I guess to bring that back to your question, I always had the intention of going back to England and going and doing drama school. But then, yeah, it never really came to fruition. I was like, I just felt very settled in Australia. Something felt immediately like home here. And I have had a variety of different jobs, like working in pubs. I ran a pub for like 4.5 years, worked at a children's charity in children's hospitals, did a lot of acting, a lot of voiceover. And then come 2020, when COVID hit, like I'd always had cameras the whole time. I love video. Since I was a little kid, have always shot stuff on, handy cams with tapes in and like making short films with friends, to like filming sports matches at school because I probably wasn't quite good enough at sports to play the sports. So I was like, how can I still hang out with these people?
Yeah.
To then, like holidays and capturing snaps and bits and pieces. And when 2020 came around and all the acting pretty much stopped, voiceover went off and did really well for me because I could do it from home. But I was like, now's the time. Like, if I'm going to do something, this is something I've always wanted to do. So I did what every sensible person would have done during COVID and used some of the job seeker money that I was getting from the government to buy a black magic set.
Classic filmmaker newbie.
And was like, sick. Now I can do it. Now I can start making movies and like fulfilling this dream. And yeah, the camera didn't make me good at filmmaking, but
Wait, what?
I know.
What are you saying, that you bought an expensive camera and it didn't make you a great filmmaker?
Sadly not.
Oh, wow.
The rumors aren't true. Gear does not make a difference. But what it did teach me, though, was that I had so much time, was like practice. I was like, if there's one thing that this opportunity is good for, is like learn and like take all of the things that I know from about telling stories and how can I like transfer that into this medium. And any opportunity I got, I was like, sweet, I'll film stuff at home, making short films with my then girlfriend, now wife. Whatever we could do, we were trying to kind of create stuff. And some of it was garbage. But down the line, I then started, when things started to open up, started to do some little kind of jobs for people. They would be like, see the stuff online and they would be like, hey, this was really cool. I saw that little promo you made for that thing. Can I hire you to do a job? And I kid you not, these jobs were like $200, a full day of filming and like probably like a week's worth of editing. Me trying to do like titles,
like 0.5 cents per hour.
Literally. I was like, I remember there was and I mean, I was so proud of the job that I did because I was like, they were asked for a promo for a theater show. Talk about picking a market that is like not able to afford stuff. It's like theater people. But it was where I had a lot of connections. So I was like, sweet, I'll start doing this, and started creating these projects. And yeah, they'd be literally like a few $100s and would take up so much time. But still, I learned so much through doing these projects just over and over and over again and just trying to get better and better and better and better. And then as we kind of came out of all the lockdowns in Melbourne and things started to open up more and more, I think there was a point where I was like, this is the new journey that I've decided for myself. And I now have to try and find a way to make this viable. And yeah, that was when I had actually been bombarded with so many coaches, video coaches and stuff like that, where I was like, I just didn't know. I didn't know what to do. And I was like, I feel like some of these could just be a scam. If these people ever run video production companies, I don't know. Yeah. And then, one day, Ayrton's ad came up and there was just something, I think I only saw his ad once. I literally just saw the ad and I was like, there was just something where I was like, I trust this guy.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to have a conversation. I hear what he's offering and it's exactly what I'm looking for. And then I haven't looked back since. That was the best decision I ever made, was to, for the first time, instead of investing in camera gear, investing in the skills that I need to build a business.
Absolutely. And it was really adding that missing piece to your puzzle, which wasn't storytelling or understanding, camera gear and the technical aspect of filmmaking. It was really understanding how to create and run a business and stepping into that role of business owner that is, as we know, is a key point at the journey of someone that wants to have some success at growing a video production business. You need to have those business skills, especially lead generation and sales, client acquisition. Basically, be sure that that's dialed in. I just want to step back for a second in terms of voiceover. I love your voice, dude. It gives me peace. It sounds so good. Like, what happened with that? Did you were just born with your voice, and then people told you that many times, like, dude, you should do voiceovers, or like, how exactly did that work out for you?
Yeah, my mother always told me I had a face for the radio. And I guess that was like, no, she didn't really. My mother's a very lovely lady. She would never say that. But I guess from a young age, like even when I was like a little kid, people were like, this kid's got a deep voice. Like, and I was able to do kind of like, like when I was like, I like little, like even kind of like before my voice had broken, I was able to go really deep with my voice. And so I think that then when my voice did break, people were like, whoa, this guy's got a really, really deep voice. And so I think going into the acting world, I learned something very quickly, which was, although that's great, and that's a really unique characteristic of my voice, being really good at one thing is really, really helpful, but can be limiting. But it can be a really good thing to get you through the door. So it's like, like in the last podcast, you're talking about niching with Ed, for example. Like niching down, I think, is the most helpful thing you can do, especially if you want accelerated growth in a business, because you will be seen as an expert in that area, and people can see exactly what it is that you do and what problem you solve, and then they can align to that. And exactly as you said, like you can start to charge a premium for that because you're like, we do this and we do it fucking well. So it's the same deal with like, but I still have the flexibility with my voice that if I have to do something that's a little bit higher and a bit more kind of like playful, be able to do that. So although it was like, have that skill, be really good at it, but then still have the breadth underneath. I remember a drama teacher once said to me when I was at drama school, they were like, you want to go on stage to win an Oscar and you want people to be like, fuck, is that what his voice actually sounds like? Because in the movie that he just won an Oscar for, he didn't sound like that at all. So that's where I was like, I went on a massive mission from like teenage years to be like, how can I learn how to control this a bit better and find different ways of doing it? But the same deal, it's like there's technical elements, but then you got to just like let it all go at the end and let it be what it'll be.
How much do you use that specific skill for your content? Because one thing that I've noticed with your ads, with your content creation, your organic strategies as well, is, man, it instantly hooks me in because of your voice. I love it. I'm like, it instantly comes across as an authority in what you're doing just because of, obviously, you're an elite communicator. So instantly, it doesn't matter if it's highly edited or anything, I'm instantly drawn into it, and I consume the entire thing because your voice makes it feel like, wow, this guy is really an authority in this.
I remember the first ad I ever shot, like straight out the bat, was like, like I got given the frameworks and everything, and it's like, here's the copy you should be using, here's this, post the photo. And I was like, I knew I had to do a video straight away because I was like, the photo is going to be good, but if I can just make a video quickly, I know that that's going to help get me across the line a lot faster because I can use some of these skills. And definitely, like, there was no fancy editing. It was like very straightforward, just jump cuts in and out, some very basic graphics. And that ad ran for probably, I think maybe like almost a year, basically of like at least 9 months of like, and I got hundreds of leads from that ad and qualified leads. And I think the biggest takeaway from it was the skill that I was using was talking to people rather than at them. And it's a big thing in voiceover where you'll go in to do a voiceover job and they'll say, hey, can you just tell that to us like you're saying it to a mate? We just want it really conversational. And that's an element where as soon as you're talking at the camera and you're talking like at some people and maybe reading something or something like that, if you're not connecting to the person on the other side, you lose a lot of that authority. Whereas if you can see that person there, and the best trick I always give this to our clients as well, is like, pick someone you know who you're close to, can be a family member, best friend, can be a client who you really get along well with. You put them in that lens, and then you have a conversation with that person there, and all of a sudden it's like you're connecting to them. And that is honestly the biggest authority builder.
Absolutely. And you're an elite storyteller as well, an incredible skill that you have been able to hone in so well from what I've experienced watching your content and consuming it. And you're absolutely right as well. Making sure that that person across the camera can feel like you're straight talking at them and that it really comes across authentic. It's not scripted chat GPT bullshit. It really is you and that person. You are much able to move people and to make them take an action, whether it's from an ad or to follow you or to engage with you or to interact with you or just to provide enough value for them to remember you as well. So you're absolutely right. And honing that storytelling aspect of it and these little tactics that take your content to the next level is something to be aware of, especially if you're doing consistent content or you're creating ads or diving into paid advertisement, if you want to make sure that you're converting and that you're getting good, cost per leads and results with your paid marketing. What are other storytelling techniques that it took you a long time to learn and that you have seen most people miss that you will give?
So one of the biggest things we use that's a great question. One of the biggest things we use with our clients, like I guess there are a few key things that I always try to bring to the table with storytelling is obviously like the hook is the most important thing when you're creating content or an ad or anything, like what is grabbing people's attention, what's going to stop the scroll without being too flashy or kind of like clickbaity or anything like that. Something that's going to create genuine intrigue for people. And then how are you building tension? Like, no story just goes like that. Otherwise, it would be the world's worst film and you stop watching and it would be like that. Like a really good story goes like the tension builds and drops and builds and drops. I think they call it's called like yohaku. It's a Japanese term. And it's just this like build of tension and then release and then build and then release and then build and release. Any movie, any TV show, it's all the same. So if you can do that with your content, that's a really helpful thing. But to reach the widest audience, and it was one of the things that probably it was the best tool I learned about, and I was able to explain it really well, but I was only able to really see the change in my content probably after about a year's worth of kind of consistently doing it with clients and with myself, is something called PCM. So the process communication model is like kind of like love languages. There are 6 different communication models, and we all have all of them within us, but we'll always lead from a dominant one. So the best example, like Coca-Cola, L'Oreal, all of these companies use it in their marketing, but the best example of a company who use it in their marketing that I see, and I think it's like the best, like they nail it every time, is Disney Pixar. They have a ton of staff writers and producers who are trained in this, and that is basically like those films will move you, they will make you laugh, they will teach you something, and there'll be characters in there that you align to in values. There are characters in there that make you go, I'm going to do this now. And then it also opens up a whole world of imagination. So it takes all 6 of those communication models and puts them in there. So what I like to say to people is feelings, facts, and fun. Those are the big 3. Like that's 75% of people lead from one of those 3. If you can have those 3 in your content or in your marketing or in your messaging or anything, or even in your brand culture, that's what's going to start to leave a lasting impression. That's the thing that people remember. Did it move them? Did it make them laugh? And did it teach them something? And then they'll go, I'm in.
And if you guys haven't picked this up, one of the things that make Ross an incredible communicator, and in fact, there's 3 that always come to mind every time I'm listening to you speak. The first one is pacing. If you pay attention from now on the conversation and see his pacing every time he's delivering some sort of content or knowledge or when he's talking. He knows how to pace it in a way to make it interesting and also keep that momentum that he was talking about in terms of storytelling and release and, retain, release, retain. His tonality as well is something that goes accompanies all of that. A massive one is his body language. You are extremely intentional when you reframe your stories, when you are communicating something. You're making sure that you supported the message, always with your hands, always with face expressions, but you explain it extremely well with your hands. So pay attention how he's using his hands and how the message instantly gets to the next level because of that.
You're going to watch me be really self-conscious now thinking about everything I'm doing.
And one last thing, that this is something that I am being hammering on my team, especially recently that they've been taking bigger roles and responsibilities within the business. He does not use filler words. I haven't catch the first one yet. The producer back in the camera is currently just nodding because I've been really drilling this down, that if you want to be perceived as an authority and an expert in your field, you need to cut the filler words. There's nothing that makes you lose credibility as quicker as starting to do, Stop. You sound like an idiot. You're losing all your credibility. I cannot trust you. I will not do business with you. Do not expect me to sign up as a client with you if you're coming to me and when I ask you like, hey mate, so how exactly does your podcast system works? Well, we come to you and stop. The one reason why you keep making this mistake, it's because you're not thinking. You're just rushing too much and your brain is trying to catch up and fill those gaps that make you feel uncomfortable when you're talking. Listen to Ross, pay attention from now on the conversation to all these 4 things that we just spoke about. His pace, his tonality, his body language, and the lack of filler words within what he's saying, because this is one of the things that really helps him become and be perceived as a top level storyteller and communicator.
There's a really good exercise actually that we used to do in a meditation class, which was like being silent. Like the power of silence is huge, but being silent with other people and like letting that moment sit and not feeling the need to fidget or kind of go and get something, but just being comfortable sitting in that, is all of a sudden your status goes like through the roof. It's a really good game. It's a really good game to play because all of a sudden you realize like, wow, I've never done that before. I'm not used to just being, we're so used nowadays to just talking all the time and filling all the space, but actually leaving those bits of gaps, like that's where the magic happens. That's where people start telling themselves stories in their heads. So exactly that in a sales call, having that moment on the call where you say, you've run through everything and then you ask them the question, can you see how this would be of value to your business? And just letting that sit there. And then they go, oh, yeah, definitely. Excellent. This sounds great. This is how our pricing structure works. We sit at a retainer of, $5K per month, including GST, and we can get you started today. Are you ready? And just letting that sit there, rather than, I know that even like with everything I know and all the skills I have at the beginning, I used to let my nerves bubble up so much and I'd be like, so yeah, you get this, and this is how much it costs. And if you'd like to work with us, here's what the next steps are like. And I never let it sit. I never let it just sit. And you just sit and watch. Like you will be able to know at that point in time whether they're like, I'm in or I'm not, because you actually just let it land on them. And yeah, that's a huge thing in sales.
Absolutely. If you want to take your sales to the next level, this right here, this one tip that Ross just gave away is going to help you 10x your business. And it really is slowing down just after you reveal what's the price of your specific product, offer, service. Name the price. After obviously you did your whole sales process and you communicated value, you address the objections before getting into it as well, so that they don't become a problem once you reveal the price. And once you said it, hey, it's 5K plus GST per month. Just let it sit and be okay with the small moment of being uncomfortable. because they need to digest for a second the price, because they went through this. If you did all the sales process correctly, they went on a journey with you, ups and downs. There's a lot of energy, a lot of buildup, a lot of momentum. And we got to this point, the key point of the entire call. You have to let it sit. They need to digest it for a second, and instantly you will know as well if they're all in or no. Or maybe that's when you will need to maybe address some additional objections that might come up. You might see instantly if they're keen, if this is not the right time for the prospect as well. But that one thing there, it's completely gonna transform your sales process. Be okay with the silence and know how to use it to your advantage. Don't just say, it's 5K plus USD, and do you want to do this? And if they're taking a little bit too long, because some people really need a few seconds to do it, and in 5 seconds at that point in the call can feel like hours. You're like, can you say it? Yeah, so what are you thinking? What are you thinking, Ross? And especially if your body language completely changes, if you tell the price as well, this is another thing, and you're not looking at them straight in the eye, and be tactical about this on your call, to be sure you're looking at your webcam, because that's where they will see that you're looking straight at them. If you lose control of that body language and you start looking nervous, or you say, it's 5K plus EST, Ross, you're not gonna buy.
Sorry, that's too expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Right there and there, you will lose it. But yeah, I thought that was a very interesting point to mention in there. Can you dive in what makes Do Good Studio different, and what exactly do you guys do?
Cool. So I guess at Do Good Studio, like, filmmaking and like narrative storytelling has always been a massive thing for us. So then I knew that, and I found this out, funnily enough, actually from some of our clients, but that is the thing, like the background in narrative filmmaking and telling stories, that's the thing that got their attention. That's the thing where they were like, I feel like you're going to be the person to help me tell my story. And so then I kind of did some thinking, and I was like, maybe that is kind of where we want to sit. Like that's our unique selling point in what we do. And so it's taken time to kind of refine and do things. Obviously, it's like you're so focused on growing the business and sales and marketing and all of these things. And then you're like, then there's even like higher level stuff of like, how do I, like, what is this business and how do I like position it? So then starting to build that out was it was a massive thing for us. And I think where that comes into what we do with clients is much more about how can we take everything that they're doing, make them as comfortable as possible, and help them deliver their story in the most seamless way possible, where it doesn't feel like, where it feels natural. It feels like we're just a fly on the wall. And that really comes down to experimentation and, I guess, like imagination and innovation. That was something that was so key for us, of like, we found a system that worked for most people. But then if we didn't try and then implement that, if we tried to implement that with absolutely everyone, sometimes it just wouldn't gel with some people. And I don't think it's because they were the wrong client. It's just because they needed something a little bit different. So that flexibility and ability to change client to client was a big thing. But now we're running into the issue of how do you scale that? Because that's a skill of like being flexible with someone and then kind of being like, oh, okay, maybe you don't feel comfortable talking to the camera. We'll just get you to talk off camera. Like, how do you bridge that with a client where they're not going to go, oh, I'm terrible on camera, and then they just go into their head and go into a spiral or something else. But like just constantly being aware of like how you can frame things to keep people's nervous systems down and put them in a position where they feel confident about what they're doing and about what they're talking about.
Obviously, your business has experienced exponential growth in the last 12 months. What would you say was the biggest lever for you to get to where you are and command high prices and a high ticket offer when it comes to, you know, growing a video production business?
Totally. So definitely, like, the most foundational thing was sales and marketing. Before I was selling content packages or anything else, before I had a productized offer, anything like that, I was selling like, you want a video? Sure. I'll just put up this quote for you and kind of like work it out. And I'd be like, I had no idea. I was like, I'll download a film budget template. And then I'm like, I don't have any of these things. I'm not going to have a gaffer. I'm not going to have any of this. I'm going to have any of this. So really, I could kind of just do this for like $100. And it was like, or I'd be like, oh, but you know, it sounds like they've got a lot of money, so I'll say $5,000. And then they'll be like, what? Like, what the hell? Why does this cost $5,000? You're just coming and filming a video for me. Yeah. I had no understanding of solving a problem.
Yep.
And then being able to prove that that's what we can do time and time again. Yep. So that like the sales and marketing and positioning of us as problem solvers and as solution oriented business that was the biggest game changer.
What has been the biggest challenges that you have experienced in the last 12 months growing your video production business?
Having a life and running a business at the same time is incredibly difficult. Like in the last year, so I first started working with Ayrton in the course, like in the group program before we started doing one-on-one back in like late February, early March or something I started. And then things grew quite quickly. And all of a sudden I was like, wow, this is great. I can do all of these things. And, and then I hit the next set of problems and the next set of problems. It just so happened in the same year, I was getting married. We had we'd gotten a grant to make a short film. I'd like committed to all of these massive projects in my life that were going to take up so much time, energy, and attention that I was like doing all of this and running a business completely by myself at the same time I bit off a lot more than I could probably chew there at once. And it was tough, but the support networks that I've since been able to have around me and I kind of have really just found, I guess, through like hanging out like this weekend, this has been the best way to solve that problem. Because running a business on your own, especially because my wife doesn't work in the business with me, so she understands what we do, but she doesn't really understand what we do at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really challenging place to be sometimes, to be like, hey, I know you need me to be here right now, and I'm going to do absolutely everything I can whenever I can. But also at the same time, this is taking up so much time, energy, and attention right now. And if we want it to work, I have to give it that time and energy and attention. So finding that balance for the both of us, and I'm so lucky that she's so understanding and such an amazing and beautiful wife that's been possible. And now we're starting to get into a place where things get a little bit more comfortable. There are still problems and still days where I'm like, what have I done? I could just undo it all now. I'd probably have to speak to a lot of really angry clients who I have contracts with, but like, surely there's a way out. Maybe if I move countries or something. Yeah. But like, there's a lot less of those days now. There's a lot less of those days. And I start to feel a lot more confident in myself about the journey that I'm going on and why I'm doing it. Because I think for a while I was like, I know why I'm doing it, but I wasn't really doing anything to back that up. It wasn't in anything I was doing. I was so like, if this is what it's for, if building this business is to give you that freedom and flexibility in life and be able to get paid for what you love doing, then go wholeheartedly into that rather than just kind of like putting your toe in every now and again and still doing all of these other things on the side. It's like, if this is the thing, make it the thing.
What you just said there resonates so much with my journey and with my belief in it. And is that if there is one thing that you do need to make sure that you implement in order to reach success and growth faster with your creative business, is maximizing and taking full advantage of the power of focus. It's so easy to get distracted. There's so many shiny objects out there. And the more you grow, the more opportunities come into your plate. Nelson, let's do this. Here's another project that we could do. This will make more money. Hey, let's partner for this. Let's do a joint venture. Dude, it's crazy the amount of opportunities that start coming the longer you do your thing. And they become really attractive. In the Matrix, they have this analogy of the woman in the red dress, you know, that when she comes by and Neo turns around and stays looking, and Morpheus tells him like, hey, what are you doing? It's an agent. And he looks back and it is an agent pointing a gun at him, right? So it's the same exact thing. If you want to move faster, if you want to be more efficient, and almost guaranteed that you will get exactly what you want or way closer to what you want, you need to be focused. There can't be any distractions, especially if you're looking to build a business that's gonna make millions of dollars and get to the highest level, the top of the food chain, the number one in your space. You can't have any distractions. And two more things into that, that basically align with what you were saying, having a partner that is understanding of that. I have seen so many people completely derail and fail to achieve their mission and what they want because they got the wrong partner. And depending on how bad that situation is, it can be a fucking hell. So this is obviously a little bit outside of business, but it is so aligned with it to make sure that whoever you choose as a partner is the right partner for you and what you're trying to do.
And communication. I think that's like, that was a big thing of like, it was so easy for me to just be in the office, just working away and like not, and just going like, I've got to get this stuff done. I have to keep going. I have to keep going. I have to keep going. And, you know, my wife's just sitting downstairs being like, are you going to finish anytime soon? I'll just do my own thing then, rather than having that conversation and being like, hey, I'm absolutely slammed at the moment. Just to let you know, I'm probably like tonight, I'm probably going to have to work for the evening, but why don't we go for a quick half an hour walk at this time? That is the kind of stuff that's going to save things. Cause then you're still taking the time to understand their position and that your role in their life as a partner, like my role as a husband. I can't just get married and then be like, oh, but I'm never actually here. I'm just working all the time, because that relationship is just going to crash and burn so quickly, rather than still knowing that I have duties there, just as I have duties to the business. And if I can communicate, that's where I can find the balance and keep things in check. And to your point of like not getting distracted, I made that mistake hardcore earlier this year. And actually, now that you've said it, that was the biggest challenge I had. I launched a new offering outside of the content offer where I was like, we're going to make funnels. We can charge so much more. It's less work. And then like, it's just consistent. I was like, this is good. And it's like, you just like, I've done ads. I get ads. That's fine. And then I just make a VSL. That's easy. And then we just set the whole system up. I was spending so much time and energy on this new offering in delivery because I was the only person that could do it. And I was trying to find people who could do it. And I was like, just kept testing people out and things weren't working. The ads were working, which was great. The VSLs were working and stuff like that. But the system wasn't working for the clients because I hadn't tested it myself. I hadn't done all these other things. And I was just like, yeah, let's go and do it. And when I was putting all my time, effort, energy, and attention into that, I was not doing any sales and marketing for my business. I was not focusing on the clients that I currently had, or my content clients. And so everything else just started to go. I had no free time. I had no personal life. And I was dealing with clients that were like panicked because they were like, I need this to work right now. And all of a sudden I was like, why have I just done this to myself? Things were going so well and on such a good, had a good system. Things were kind of nice and consistent and everything was going up. And then I was just like, I'm going to try something new. And it just plummets.
Boom.
Like the best lesson though, because if I didn't do that, who knows when I would have done it and who knows how much worse I would have done it down the line. But now I'm like, if I can really see where this could possibly go wrong and take that time at the beginning, that's...
Absolutely. And same has been for us. That mistake, I believe almost every single entrepreneur and business owner will make unless they get exposed towards that specific piece of information earlier in the journey. Now I know so much better. And the longer I keep doing this one thing, which in our case is running the number one video podcast agency in Australia and soon worldwide, the easier it becomes. The more we grow, the faster we're getting towards hitting our goals. So stay focused, do not get distracted. We just came back from hanging out on a mastermind with another set of 5, 6 top-level video business owners, plus 2 op managers as well that are part of those businesses. What was your biggest takeaway?
There was a lot in terms of my business personally and problems that I was facing that I was able to jam out with everyone. But I think I just had a couple of those moments where I was sat there around this table full of people and everyone is kicking goals. Like the situation that you were in and the speed at which you've gotten there is mind blowing. And seeing the way that like Andy and Ash run their business and what they've gotten it to, and the level of dedication of like nothing's ever just like, yeah, we've done it here. It's like, how can we make that better on every level of the business? And seeing all of that around me, I was like, this is so inspiring. And then it really made me think of that thing of like, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I want to spend more fucking time with all of these people right here, because this is the environment I want to be in, where it's like constantly testing, challenging, improving, and innovating. Being adverse to change is probably the biggest death of any business. And I think the biggest lesson that I've learned over the last few years, and what we're going to see so much of over the next few years, is people are going to have to make a choice. A lot of things are going to change. There's going to be more huge advancements in AI, which we've already seen, and it's only going to get faster and bigger and more complex. Like there's going to be more pandemics. There's going to be more wars. There's going to be all of these things, and the world is going to go into a bit of a chaos mode. And we're going to be in a position where we have to make a choice of, you either lean into it, accept it, and use that change and adapt to it, or you reject it. And you can make either decision, but know that if you reject that change, it is very, very easy to fall into a victim mentality of everything's getting so fast and so difficult and so complicated and I can't do anything about it. But that's only going to push you further down. If you can find a way to embrace it and find a way to like work with it, that is going to be the make or break.
Absolutely. War is coming. Winter is coming. So you better get ready for it. You better arm yourself for what's coming ahead in terms of AI and all the things that you just mentioned in there. You better build a strong network of people that are savages and they're all working towards a similar goal to yours, so you can all support each other and get to where you're trying to go faster. Yeah. Because things are up for take right now. And whoever is moving as a unit with other business owners and that are all learning from their mistakes, all sharing their valuable information so that they can all optimize and get better faster. There's no way people cannot compete with us, with our group. How can they? How can you, as a solopreneur or a freelancer or any business owner out there, video agency owner, can you compete with us when we have access to another 6, 7, 8 minds that are doing the same exact thing, just in a slightly different way, in a slightly different niche, whatever it is. We all share our systems, the failures, the wins. How can you compete with that? You're going to get crushed. So you better find a circle that you can create this level of relationship and support, and understand that, yes, you will be competitors in some way. You should have some level of competition. We do have. Andy, that is here, and myself, we were on a mastermind, and the coach was giving, a camera away. We don't need the camera. We don't care about gear anymore. I could not care less. I could buy hundreds of those cameras. But we were competing to see who won it. And we made it fun. It was like, we had to do some stories and whatever. And I don't need the fucking camera, but I just want to win it. I just want to push the boundaries for us, right? That's how we play. We recently tested a new offer. We're going to do some podcast workshops, and he's going to do some workshops as well in a completely different line of work and subject. And he came to me with a text. He's like, we booked more people on calls. We got more, and not even booked, we got more interest on our email. And I'm like, I wasn't counting the clients that responded to me. That we have that level of playfulness to it, and it is a game for us. But in the end, guess what? None of us want to be making multi-million dollars, millions of dollars, if the other ones stay the same. There's no fun in that. I want to get there and also see like, okay, we're making $40 million, but Andy's also doing it, Ross is also doing it, Ed and G and everyone else is also in this. Because also, we conquered, we will get that feeling that we conquer the mission all together. There was no man left behind. That's a big thing that I also have been installing into the mindset of my team, is that we do not leave any man behind. We're currently training a new editor that he's still earning his place, if you're watching this. And he, on the first day, he was staying with one of our editors. That was actually the guy that recommended him for the role. So he was staying with him. They know that if they're late, they do push-ups. Yes, I don't care. I make them do push-ups. If they come late, send me to jail. I don't care. They're going to do push-ups if they're late. And he knew he was going to be late. It was his first day, and he left it behind. He came rushing into the office. He came in early. The other guy still made it on time. And the first thing I had to do that day was sitting them down and just tell him, we do not leave any man behind. If he's running late and he's going to make push-ups and he's making you look bad in front of the team, you fucking get his ass up and you tell him, dude, we're not going to be late. Get ready. We leave right now. And you pick him up if you have to, but we're not going to leave any man behind, because we move as a unit. We lose together, we die together, we also win together, we rise together. And that's exactly the same kind of mindset that we've been having on this group and this mastermind. So right now, there's a small window of opportunity that you should be looking to take advantage of and start putting together a team that is going to support you and that you can support them, because otherwise you will get crushed. That's as easy as it's going to happen for you. What's 3 pieces of advice that you wish you knew early in your journey as a creative entrepreneur?
One of the biggest lessons for me, and I wish I'd known this earlier, but sometimes it's better to make the mistake than not. Like, we were talking this morning actually about this story of like the Zen and the art of archery, of, drawing the bow and holding it and holding it and holding it, and then the master won't let you release it, and then you go, God damn it. And you're there for days, weeks, months, holding this bow and struggling and struggling and struggling. And then him going, all right, breathe after you've thrown a hissy fit. And then all of a sudden you breathe as you're doing it and you can hold it. And then he says, now you can release it. And then you release it and it flies through and hits the target. And the master says to him, you had to suffer the shipwreck of your own disaster before you'd realize the true value of that lesson. And I think sometimes it's so easy to be in such a rush and want everything to just happen now. But sometimes the most important thing is learning that lesson yourself, making that mistake yourself, seeing those errors yourself, and being okay with that, because that is all part of growth. If you can fail more, small fails, don't gamble everything, but if you can make so many small fails, you will succeed and grow so much faster than everyone else. That will give you faster growth, rather than getting everything perfectly right and playing your cards very close to your chest and being really careful the whole time. That's not going to get you anywhere. That's probably the most important lesson, is fail more and fail well. Secondly is don't get comfortable. You might find something that, like, I think I've always had a level of privilege in my life. Like, growing up in England, and I went to a private boarding school. Like, it's very easy to be in a situation where it's like I've always had all of the resources in terms of education and stuff that I wanted. Coming to Australia was the first time where I was like, I've got to fend for myself now. I pay everything myself. My own rent, bills, get a job, live your life as an adult with not having that help anymore. Without that level of risk and ownership of my own life, I think I wish I'd learned that earlier on in life. I wish I'd had less safety nets. But also, same deal. It's made me who I am today. It's given me a lot of things, so I'm very thankful for it as well. And then I guess the third thing is, I mean, Ed said it as well, but sales and marketing is like a massive thing. And sales and marketing is something, again, where I feel like I had some good success with early on, but not being afraid to test, challenge, and innovate. Like, experiment with what's going on. If you just do what you do and what you know, and you go, this works, great, I'll just keep doing this. Eventually, that's going to get old and it's going to get stale and it's going to die in you as well. And then the person on the other end of that call is going to feel that too. You have to, every single day, every single time, find that thing that is new and exciting to you, that lights you up about it, that aligns you with it. And that's what's going to make the difference. That's what's going to light the spark in them. That's something that you have so strongly in you. I see it all the time when you're talking. It's like that energy, you're not forcing that energy. That is a natural energy that Nelson has, because every day you align yourself to what it is for you. I don't know, it's not easy, but like that, if you don't constantly have that realignment and checking in and that ability to kind of like move with things and go with the flow, then things get stale and old pretty quickly.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to double down on the first one that you said that I believe strongly is so critical. It's being okay with failure and fail forward. This is another key element that I always drill into Vibes Creative and our team, is that yes, we're going to make mistakes. I'm hungry for mistakes, because if we're making mistakes, that means that we're testing new things, that we're continuously evolving. Because if everything is going well, something is not right. You're not growing, because growth requires pain. It's as simple as that. You want to grow your business? Buckle the fuck up, because it's going to get very rocky. It's going to be very hard. It's going to be very stressful. It's going to be very scary, right? So if you're failing, that means you're doing something right. You're evolving. You're probably testing new things. You're probably stepping out of the comfort zone. You're probably doing that scary thing that you didn't want it to do. As long as we always continue to fail forward, we're moving in the right direction. You don't want to fail in the same place. Keep it. This is the one thing that I ask my team, and I keep saying and reinforcing this. I do not want us to keep making the same mistakes, because that's stupidity. If you keep repeating the same mistakes, you're an idiot. As simple as that. Yes, make the mistakes, but don't make them again. Every time something happens, we sit down, we debrief, and we analyze. Why did this happen? I don't care how small the mistake was. I don't care how big it is. I just care about us not experience that mistake again. How do we make sure that doesn't repeat itself? How do we create a system, a process that allows for that mistake to not exist ever again within the business, within the team, so that we can continue to fail forward?
And that's like, I know we're like, just as a last point on that, that ability to fail and like having the confidence to be like, it's okay to test something and try. If we don't test and try and fall forwards and make mistakes, we will never do anything that is world changing, that is really new to us, because we will always just come from what we know and what is safe. But if we want to push the boundaries, you've got to be okay to fuck up and go like, I'm going to test this with a new piece of content and see if it works. Don't do it on something like the most important piece of content for a client and be like, I'm going to test this new thing. And be like, oh my God, I've ruined their social media accounts. But like, test it on your own content and see what happens. And then if it works, you go, we've just found something out that is incredible. Let's now implement this across the board. Let's get it going. Those are the things, those windows of opportunity only come when you push the boundaries.
Absolutely. Absolutely right. There is right now a creative entrepreneur that is listening to this and just thinking, how the fuck do I get to this level? How can I charge and command premium prices for my video production business, for my podcast agency, whatever it is? How can I come across an authority? How can I have more freedom in my business? And they listen to this conversation and it just sounds so far removed from where they currently are. What would you say to that person?
Stop investing in camera gear. Stop buying cool shit, no matter how cool it is, and that dopamine hit that you get when you do it, and invest in yourself. Invest in coaching. Invest in sales and marketing books. Try and learn everything you can about how to market and sell and how to run a business, because that is going to be the thing that gives you the opportunity to buy all of the cool camera gear and shit that you actually need when you actually have jobs to fulfill them. But trust me, by the time you get to that point, you won't want any of the camera gear anymore because you realize the value of personal growth is way more.
It's interesting, right? When you now look at it in retrospective and you understand now that gear really, it matters, but it doesn't matter at all.
It's like the biggest thing is like, and everyone always says it, like deferring gratification. If you can learn to defer gratification in your life, that is going to be something that makes all the difference. And buying camera gear is like the biggest dopamine hit when you're like, I'm going to order this thing. And then they're like, it's being dispatched. And you're like, oh my God, it's going. That dopamine hit, you're just filling a hole.
Absolutely.
Hold off for a year, invest in personal growth, start your business, grow things. And then all of a sudden, in the space of a year, you've done so much more for yourself, for your business, for others, and made an impact, then that camera gear is going to make you feel.
And this might sound crazy, but if you do everything Ross just mentioned, if you invest in your mindset, you get a coach or someone that is where you're trying to go or that has the information that you need to get to where you're trying to go, you get access to a network, you build a network around you, you master the two skills that are gonna bring oxygen to a business, which are sales and marketing. You train your leadership skills so you can form an elite team of A players and savages at what you do and to help you accomplish that mission. It's almost guaranteed that you will find success in what you're doing. And this is the crazy part. If you implement all of that, going back to gear, if you do implement everything I just mentioned, you will be able to buy the camera you want every single month, several times. It's insane when I put it this way. And now when I look at it, I'm like, holy shit, every time we close a deal, that means we can literally buy as much gear as we want. We could literally be buying those when you start understanding retainers and how get consistency for your business. It literally means you can buy those cameras every single month, many, many times. So stop wasting money right now in gear because also, like Ross said, it will get to a point where you will finally understand that, holy shit, I don't need all these cameras. I don't need this stuff. When I have to buy cameras these days, computers, all these things that used to give me that massive dopamine hit, I'm dreaded. My energy is like, oh no, another camera, another computer. It's like, why? Why do we need this? We already have 3 cameras, 4 computers. Why do we need all this stuff? I don't want any more. I don't want this. How do we invest into team and into systems and knowledge and access and networks? That's where I want to put my money into. So I completely agree with that. Ross, thank you for making the time to coming into the Creative Grid today. Is there any final thoughts that you would love to leave with the audience? And where can they find you? Where can they get in touch with you and know a little bit more about you and Do Good Studio?
Yeah, cool. So Do Good Studio, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok. Instagram's probably the best place to find us. Over the next few months, we're going to have some cool, new, exciting things happening. So definitely come and check it out. I'm making that commitment here now so that I have to do that. And one last parting piece of wisdom is wabi sabi. Like imperfectly perfect is so helpful. Like get it out there, get it in the world. Don't worry about how perfect it is because it's those little things that are wrong with it that make it that little bit more special.
Get it done and get it out there. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow these legends. All the links will be down below. Make sure to follow at The Creative Grid, at Creator Nelson, and I'll see you on the next episode. Good vibes for everyone. You. My goal for this podcast is to help 1 million creative entrepreneurs make more money, have more impact, and create their ultimate reality. The best way for you to support this mission is by sharing the podcast with anyone you think will find it valuable. Leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and follow us on all social media platforms at The Creator Grid and at Creator Nelson. I will see you at the top.